it down.
Ta-da! Well done, mate. Righto, punters, welcome back. I'm getting this car all ready. Tomorrow we're off to the Dyno at 101 Motorsport. Hopefully it all plays the game. We'll do a bit of running in on it, on unleaded, then we'll flick it over to methanol, and then we'll see how much boost it wants. Oh, let's get up to the Dyno. Thank you, Nationwide Forklifts. Welcome to the land of Australia. That's the local crocodile. Hangs out at 101 quite often. Just once again for you guys that could be new to the channel, setup we have here is a billet block K24 all stock crank, aluminium rods. It's running about 8.5 to 1 compression. We've gone to a dry deck setup, so full water in the block, full water in the head, but just nothing passes between the gasket surface. We've got a G45 1600 with a 1.28 rear housing, which hopefully becomes the limiting factor in this combo today. So 2 Alexa fuel pumps and the methanol tank up the front, so 2 1380 Alexas, best electric pump on the market in my opinion. Go check them guys out. Now the best we've ever done previously was 1200 horsepower on about 46, 47 pounds of boost on the old setup, which was a G42. So hopefully just that little bit bigger in the turbo. We're definitely not huge in the turbo, but it should be enough to get us to where we want to be. This has been a massive 6 months in the making. We couldn't do it without Soteria, all the other sponsors, Fab Lab, 101 Motorsport. We managed to sneak them in today to tune it. Just a couple of little upgrades I've done just to make life easier. We keep the filter in 100% of the time now. So a big decent size surface area on that, so that will make life good. We've also changed the dipstick location. We used to have a little short one that was in there, but I never realised how congested the front was going to end up. So now we've got the old Honda dipstick in there, easy to check the oil, no coils across the top, just the ignition 1As at the back, along with the Auto Perfection spark plug lead tubes that we've just had CNC made. So I've got 25 sets of them popping out of the machine. If anyone's after a set, let me know in the comments. Well, what's Fab Lab's predictions today? What's going to happen?
Well, we said it was going to be a good day if our only problem is maxing the turbo out. So, see what happens. I mean, I don't like giving a high expectation on a dyno number because it always deflates you. So I always like to give a realistic low number and then you're happy if it makes more than that. So I said, if it makes anything more than 1300, it's happy days. So, don't know, have to see, I guess. Hopefully it plays the game, but...
What sort of boost levels do you reckon we're going to have to see to make sort of peak power with this turbo?
But I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know anyone that's pushed a G45 on a 4-cylinder yet. So it's going to be interesting. Like, we have a pretty big rear housing on it. I mean, it would be nice if it made 1400 at the wheels. I mean, but we're probably talking 60-ish pounds of boost, I guess. It's just going to come down to the turbo. That's all today is going to come down to. We've got an ample fuel system and ample engine now, so the turbo is a thing that's going to hold us back from now, which is probably a good thing. We can limit ourselves for the time being. But, yeah, fingers crossed, I guess.
What's it going to make today, Vroom?
What do you want? As much as the turbo will give.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, look at that. It looks beautiful. There's no bearing in there. There's no piston in there. There's no G45 turbo in there. We're lucky. Righto, that's the oil changed. We're running the 2060, isn't it? Race oil. 2060 by Penrite. Thanks to Burson Auto Parts for that one. What do you reckon, Cameron? Is she going to make some boost?
Hope so.
Now, guys, remember, make sure you be like this guy and jump on and subscribe. Well done, mate. 748 on 30 pound. Righto, 60 pound pull coming up. We are back at 101. After a bit of a clean up, we've got the new catch curtain on. That'll keep us out of trouble for today, hopefully. Couple of degrees of timing, Varun.
2 degrees. We put another 2 in.
You reckon? Seems to like it. What does that do with boost level? Does that tend to want to bring boost level down or up? Or
It tends to want to bring it down. The engine becomes more efficient, so it uses the boost more. But it didn't really bring it down much.
Well, that's all she wrote. 1327 horsepower, 9,800 revs. Not bad, mate. Thank you for that. So we found the limiting factor of the turbo. So the G45s, there's a rumour out there that they're not that good. I think Dan believes the rumour now, eh?
I'm a bit dirty.
112,000 RPM.
Yeah, 112,000 RPM was spinning the turbo too. Oh, well, that's a wrap. Well done, boys. 1,300 and something horsepower. We can't complain. The poor little G45 wasn't quite up to the task, I think. But unfortunately, it's going to have to do for the year, eh? That's enough. I'm sick of working on it again. Thank you, 101. We'll see you. So unfortunately, we reached the max this turbo can do. We're at 110,000, just about RPM on the turbo at 57 PSI. So we're pushing it pretty hard. It did make not too bad a boost, but it's a shame we would have thought that would have gone to 70 or 80 probably with this setup. So not too bad. The other thing we can have a look at just quickly is the exhaust manifold pressure, which is here, which is 60 compared to our 57 in the intake manifold. So 3 pound more in the exhaust in the EMAP. So it's showing the turbo's not out of its efficiency, but we're definitely using all of it, what it's got to give us. We're running 19 degrees of timing. Overall, everything else is really good. Oil pressure, 103 PSI through the pool. Fuel pressure was good with the twin Alexas. Injector duty, we've got plenty to play with there, but for now, this setup I think is going to be more than capable of doing what we want to do this year. It feels like a shame doing everything we've done to gain 120 horsepower, but there's a few reasons for it. I think the first reason, obviously the lower compression of this engine, so you're going to lose a fair bit of efficiency there. But I think that the main thing with the effort is we shouldn't be doing head gaskets anymore. So something we haven't spoken about yet is coolant pressure. So there's a few guys in the States getting around with these billet blocks, wet blocks with a wet head. So they're still running copper gaskets and fire rings, but they're still seeing a lot of coolant pressure. And this time we only see 14, 15 PSI coolant pressure, what you'd expect to see, because that's what your cap's rated to, obviously. So if you're seeing more coolant pressure than what your cap releases at, then obviously there's something else going on. And we've sort of cottoned on with that the whole way through. With the cast block, we've always been able to manage to run that 38 to 40 pound fairly safely without seeing a lot of coolant pressure. But as soon as we went over that 40, it just skyrocketed. We'd go off our sensor at 35 psi. You've all seen what it's done to the radiators. It's not, yeah, we've done that a few times. So yeah, that's the biggest thing we've gained. I think is a lot of reliability. It's not so much all about horsepower.
It's all we've done, yeah. It's just made it reliable.
Yeah.
Perfect for drag challenge, isn't it?
We've got something that we can throw 55 pounds or even 50 pounds of boost at, and it should sit there and live all day long. So all going to plan. As long as it can still tow that trailer, that's all it's got to do.
That's the other part.
Yeah. Oh, something else we've learned about today on the dyno, we didn't film any of it. Push lock fittings. I thought push lock fittings weren't too bad for transmission stuff. We're only usually seeing 90 pound. They rate them for about 200, I think, 150 to 200. And every single one on the car now has leaked after it's sat for the last 6 months. So
It's all right if you put a hose clamp on it as
yeah,
well.
throw a hose clamps on your push lock fittings if you're going to just rely on it. And they're definitely good when they knew we ran for the last 2 years without an issue, luckily. So we'll change them to 200 series Teflon stuff. We're talking about doing a different transmission cooler. Once again, thanks to old Varun at 101. Definitely knows what he's doing. He's helped us all these times now. It's been on his dyno probably 20 times in the last 2 years. So without him, we definitely wouldn't be going to the events and be as far as we are now. So
Sorry about your floor too.
yeah, sorry about your floor. We got a bit of oil over it. Yeah. So the turbo we've got is a G45 1600, which means it's rated to 1600 horsepower. And I'm wondering, you guys are probably wondering, why don't you make 1600 horsepower? Now, there's a couple of little factors that go into this. 1327 at the hubs isn't too bad because we have about 10% loss through the torque converter. So add another 10%, that gets us another 135 horsepower, is that right? So we're getting up there. We also have drivetrain losses, so through the power glide and the 9-inch. So it does put us towards that 1600 flywheel horsepower. Bags, are you upset, Bags, that it didn't make any horsepower?
I wanted a little bit more out of it. I was hoping putting in another turbo on it would push it that little bit more.
So I'm pretty sure we're one of the first to run these as a dry deck setup, which if you've watched the other videos, we've still got water in the block and water in the head, but we have nothing passing between the gasket. So water gets fed in the block, out of the block, up to the head externally, and then through the head, and then back out to the radiator. I'm not sure why this hasn't been done more often. You know, there's a lot of big horsepower K-Series guys in the States, but this sort of, it hasn't been done yet. And all the other import stuff, it's quite a common thing. You know, 2Js have been doing it for years. The big block guys have been doing it for years. Yet the K-Series guys, it's always either wet deck or they have to run everything solid. If you run everything solid, you can't use that car on the street. You can only, it's a full-blown race car. So hopefully with what we've got, we've seen temperatures on the dyno now where it's exactly the same as it was before. The fan kicks in when it kicks in and shuts off when it should shut off. So we only see 82, 83 degrees Celsius on unleaded fuel, and then obviously on the methanol it takes a bit longer to heat up. So we're only seeing 70s in there. So it's a little bit more work than probably just running a wet deck setup. You've got to weld up your head, a few other little changes you have to do to your plumbing, but it does give you something that you're never going to see coolant pressure with. What do you reckon, Bags?
Yeah, I reckon it's a great idea. The other thing is too, it'll be ideal for drag challenge.
We want to have the best of both worlds. We've got an engine that can handle this sort of power, a 4-cylinder small engine handling this sort of power, and at the same time be able to tow that trailer for 2,000 Ks on an event. So, yeah.
Bit of road testing and see how it goes, really.
Yeah, I think that's the next step probably. We're waiting on a track to open here. We've got a few upgrades happening to our local track. So hopefully, in the meantime, we'll just get this car out and we'll do a bit of street mileage in it. We might even bang the trailer on the back, see how it goes on the road, and we can dial all that sort of stuff in. So that way we know we're good for drag challenge this year. Once the track opens up, we'll get back out there and we'll try and get these 60 foots down and see what this thing does.
Well, that was interesting.
Break it down.